All right, so we are on an expedition today, a fishing expedition. I am on a raft here just at the lake at our cottage, and we are going to try to catch some fish today. I recently did a video on the Casio fishing time. Total fail, didn't catch a thing, maybe got one bite that day. But in that video, I had a comment, and somebody, a gentleman by the name of Logan, so thanks, Logan, recommended to me the Pro Trek PRT-B70. That's the watch I'm wearing today. It's also got some fishing functions, a little more advanced than the fishing time, so hopefully this works a little bit better. So today we are not leaving this lake until we land a fish. So at the moment it is noon, pretty much on the dot. The watch showed that today the best time to be fishing was 11:35. We are a little bit late, and the second best time is at, I think it's 5:35 or 5:45. So I might try both of those times, see how it goes. For anybody that's here for the watch, we will get to the watch, but for now let's try to see if we can land a fish. Looks like I got one on here, but I think it's a little one. Let's see. Got one, just a little baby sunfish, but at least we got something so far. Got another one, this time just a little baby bass. I'm gonna let him go and catch him again when he's a little bit bigger. But yeah, this time of day isn't usually the greatest fishing in this lake. The big guys come out towards the end of the day or early morning, so I think I am going to relocate, go back to the cottage for a little while, and we'll come back out late this afternoon. All right, so it is 5:35 right now. The watch is telling me that 5:45 is the best time for fishing. So round two. Getting bites. Little ones though. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Got one, but he's a baby. Okay, took a few casts here just at the dock right by the cottage. Getting lots of bites, but it's all little ones, so I think we'll go back to the same spot we were at before and try out there again. Woo! All right, I'm gonna call it a success. We caught an okay sized bass, not the biggest one, but not too bad. Put up a nice little fight, and yeah, was it to do with the watch? That's something I think we need to talk about, but at least we caught something other than the little babies we were catching earlier. So we are back home now. Had a great weekend at the cottage and had quite a bit of fun figuring out how this baby works. The module along with the app is super intuitive, but there's a few things to try that I just haven't gotten to yet. For today, I want to talk a little more on the fishing function, and we'll kind of go through the basics of the watch too, but I'm actually going to do a follow-up video and talk about some of the other functions more in depth. I was actually just talking with Jamie from Mad Rock Watches and Adventure about some cool ideas to test the accuracy of the altitude function that might be fun, so keep an eye out for at least one more video on this watch in the future. So when you get the watch, you will need to download the Pro Trek app. If you search Pro Trek Connect It, you'll find it in the App Store. I believe there was a quick initial setup, but to connect to the app, it's just a matter of holding the button at the 3 o'clock for a couple of seconds. And then we start to make connection here, and it takes maybe 7 or 8 seconds to connect. Then you are good to go. So we'll just wait a minute, or a second rather, for that to happen. And connection complete. If you go to the guide section, it gives you the basics on most of the functions of the watch, and you can go more in depth by clicking the spot there on the bottom of the screen to take you to the manual. Now, I'll run you through the basic functions of the watch. And the first one, when you hit the mode button, is the altitude. Now, you can have the second hand either keep running as a regular second hand, or you can use it and set a reference altitude. It's going to show how much that altitude has changed either up or down during your hike or climb. And this is shown on the scale on the left-hand side of the dial between the 6 and 12 o'clock. Because this uses barometric pressure to get the altitude, it is not 100% accurate, but hopefully we can experiment with that in a later video. Next up, we get the temperature, which to get an accurate reading, you'll have to take the watch off wrist, and it takes quite a while to adjust to the actual outdoor temperature. After that, we have the fishing function, and I think this is really cool. It shows your location. I have the cottage there. I've set up a couple locations, fishing locations in the app, and whatever your app is set to, that name will pop up on the display, the name of that area. So in the fishing mode, it shows the best times of day based on tidal information, the best fishing times of day, that is, based on tidal information and the lunar cycle, and you can cycle through the best times of day to fish with the top right button. You can see our first time of day shows fish times 4, which is the optimal time. The next time shows times 3, so not quite as good. Times 4 again. Times 3. If I push the bottom right, that advances by the day. So you can actually go through and look at future dates and take a look at the upcoming fishing conditions. While we're still in the fishing mode, the top right button on first push shows us the sunset and sunrise times. Today it is showing a sunrise of 7:05 a.m., a sunset of 7:18 p.m. The next push gives us the lunar age, the moon age. Then we have the tidal graph. Now here's the thing with this combination of information, and I think this may not be particularly useful to me. The reason being is they're using tidal and moon information to get the ideal fishing times, and I just don't think that works for inland fishing. I've tried this watch only the once, but the fishing time, the other Casio, a few times, and they've always had the optimal times at times that I just know aren't optimal. Especially the fact that they're using the tidal and lunar cycle information tells me this probably really is meant for fishing on the coast. Pretty well everywhere I've ever fished inland, it's all about early morning or late day fishing. So that being said, the sunset sunrise times do help quite a bit with that. Now, if you're buying this for fishing, one other useful tool the watch offers is you can set location and specific fishing information and use the watch and app to get back to those spots. I haven't played with that yet, but that does seem like it could be very useful, especially on bigger lakes. So let's run through the rest of the functions here. And after fishing, we have just your typical stopwatch, then the countdown timer. We have the alarm, which is easily set on the app. We also have world time. And what's kind of cool is you can switch between the home time and your second time zone with the push of the backlight button. Just have to hold it for a couple of seconds till it beeps. and it starts to make the switch. It takes a little while to get there, but it'll eventually get there. Speaking of the backlight, by the way, I kid you not, you could use this as a small flashlight. It's that bright. I don't think I've ever seen one brighter than this watch, and you can also set it to auto so it turns on when you hold the watch up to check the time. Once we're back in timekeeping mode, the top right button activates the compass. So we'll get that going. I used to have the PAW 1500, and this just seems to be a lot snappier. It's been a while, but I remember there being a bit of a delayed reaction with the compass on that one. The last thing we'll talk about when it comes to functions is the digital display, and I know there's tons of things going on with this watch, and it may seem a little overwhelming watching this video, but it's not as bad as it seems once you get it in hand. But when it comes to the digital display, I'm usually not big on anti-digi watches, mostly because the displays are usually smaller and hard to read, but this display is large and no problems reading it for me at all. You can easily change what's on display there with the top left pusher. Right now we have the day and date. You can cycle to the barometric pressure, a digital readout of the time. We have even a step tracker in here, which is pretty cool. Then there is the tidal graph there, and finally the fishing time, and whichever of these you choose just stays there on the display. So wow, they have a ton going on with this watch. Again though, with the way the app is set up, even if you've completely forgotten how to use one of the functions of the watch, the app sort of walks you through it. As far as the basic specs go, the watch is not a small one. It's quite the giant chunk of resin here. The case from the pusher at the 3 to the sensor at the 9 is 50.2 millimeters. I'm getting a lug to lug of 57 millimeters. The lug opening is 23 millimeters, which is too bad considering the straps have quick release spring bars, and it would be fun to try a few straps if I had any 23s. The thickness is about 17 millimeters, and a good bit of that measurement comes from the bezel. The compass bezel is a friction bezel. It seems to stay in place and not get bumped out of position. The insert, I was kind of surprised to find out, is actually made with aluminum. The bezel's all raised above the crystal, which should help it from taking direct hits. Quick look on wrist before we close out today's video, and I'm digging it. It's crazy comfortable for its size. Weight, according to the Casio site, is only 73 grams. It feels like it could take a bullet. Just a really solid watch. I think I forgot to mention the water resist is 200 meters, so this can certainly stand up to some punishment. I think the only thing we're missing here is solar. The battery life is supposed to be 2 years, but solar would have been really nice. Full retail on these is $240 US, but you can find them quite a bit cheaper fairly easily. I'll leave a link to where you can get one on Amazon in the description below. Prices change, but I just saw this model for $176 there. So that's it, guys. Thanks again to Logan for pointing me in the direction of this one. Any questions on the watch, reach out anytime, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. What do you think of that, Eddie? What do you think of that? Eddie just gagged when he smelled it, so he's not a fan, it looks like.